On behalf of Electronics, and in this video, we'll be talking about mean or long-term average. Now, in terms of economics, or in terms of statistics, when it comes to mean or long-term average, your mean or long-term average also represents probability, because probability has to do with long-term rather than short-term. Okay, so probability, this has to do with long-term, and more specifically, it has to do with long-term average. And since we're talking about probability, there's a law out there, which is called the law of large numbers, which basically says that as you experiment more and more, okay, as you conduct more trials, as you try out more times, okay, as you try more and more, okay, you're gonna achieve your long-term average. Okay, your long-term average, the gap between the long-term average, okay, as well as the theoretical um, value will be less and less. Okay, the gap between your theoretical, this is theoretical, okay, probability, okay, or theoretical value, and relative frequency is reduced. Now, we've talked about relative frequency in the past. This has to do with frequency in proportion to something. Okay, so relative frequency is reduced. Okay, so say for example, if you were to experiment with a basketball, okay, and you're guessing that you're gonna get 10 out of, let's say, 100 dunks, okay. Um, if you do end up trying out 10 times, okay, you may not get those 10 dunks. Okay, but as you try more and more, let's say you move towards 100, okay, let's say you try out more than 30 or 40, 50, 60 times, okay, eventually you're going to get 10 dunks. Okay, so the idea is as the number of tries goes up, okay, as the trial and error goes up, okay, the probability will approach your relative frequency, the theoretical probability, okay, what you assume will happen, the likelihood of something happening will be uh, close to your relative frequency. All right, so the formula, okay, for this law, this has to do with sum, okay, or you can say your long-term average equals sum of x, where x would be your unit of value, times this by your frequency, okay, which is e at x, or a function of x. So this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. So x-axis, whatever value you have on the x-axis, your unit of value, okay, times this by your y-axis, which is the frequency, will give you your, okay, your long-term average. So long-term average, in our case, if we were talking about basketball, okay, let's say you're talking about 10 dunks. Okay, you want to get 10 dunks. Okay, or 10 layups or 10 three pointers, whichever one of those three. Okay, so when it comes to 10 shots, okay, if you look at your X and Y axis, this is your Y and this is your X, okay, you will have your shots over here. Okay, so let's say 5 shots. Okay, let's say over here, you've got 10 shots. Okay, 0 shots. All right, and why the frequency of 5 shots? Okay, this is, let's say, um, 50. Okay, and the frequency of 10 shots. Okay, let's say this is 20. So in that case, okay, this is your value. Okay, so for 10 shots, okay, the frequency is 20. Okay, for 5 shots, the frequency is 50. All right. So if you have, let's say, 2 players, okay, going turn by turn, and they try to get a layup, and if they do get a layup, if they're successful, okay, the frequency of them getting 10 layups is 20, and the frequency of them getting 5 layups is 50. All right. So this has to do with x into px, function of x. All right. So your x, for example, this is 10 into function of x, which is 20. All right. So your long-term average or mean will be 10 times 20, which is 200. Okay, so this is basically how you figure out your long-term average or mean based on law of large numbers. On behalf of electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great day.